It was written in Spanish and English, and I'm just going to read an excerpt from one of the chapters called Purple October. Just to give you a little background, the main character, her name is Carolina. She's a 6-year-old girl, and in this part of the chapter, she's with her tia, who she lovingly calls Tia Ros, because her name is Tia Rosaria, so for short she calls her Tia Ros. And then she's also with her mommy and papi, who are her grandparents. The hub was always St. Edmund's, and the third Sunday in October was when it seemed as though Chicago's North Side neighborhood of Rogers Park became Lima, because that was the weekend that the Hermandad at St. Edmund's had a mass and procession of their image of El Señor de los Milagros. El Señor de los Milagros is the official saint of the city of Lima, Peru. In 1655, there was an earthquake that destroyed most of Lima, except for one adobe wall in the town of Pachacamac, which had a painted Jesus on a cross. Because the man who had painted the image was Angolan, the African people in Lima who lived nearby believed it to be a miracle and began worshiping it through song, dance, drinking, and drumming. For each person who believed in El Señor de los Milagros, there was a miracle story. Papi Enrique became a believer of El Señor de los Milagros on a Sunday in April, when Marlena was in labor with Nazarena, and the doctors realized that Mamita had placenta previa and couldn't stop Mamita's bleeding. Enrique, the doctor said, it would benefit you to start considering the possibility that you may have to choose between your child or your wife. Marlena was rushed to a maternity hospital in Lima, where everything was out of Enrique's hands. He was sent to get medicine for her, perhaps to get him out of the hospital, away from the waiting room, and giving him a useful purpose, as all the pharmacies were closed on Sunday. And instead, he ended up walking into La Iglesia de las Nazarenas, where the original image of El Señor de los Milagros stands even today. And kneeling, he wept for his miracle. A few hours later, a silent, purple-skinned Maria Nazarena was quickly smacked on the behind, giving her the energy to bring her back to life. Several blood transfusions later, Marlena was brought back to life too. It was with this debt that Enrique always signed up to carry the heavy image of El Señor de los Milagros in the procession, along with the other hermanos. They always sat at the same pew when they attended the church, one row in front of the middle, where the silver plate of communion and wine were placed on a small table behind them. After placing them in the pew, Tia Ros left them for the lector duties and sat at the altar. Arriving early, the English Mass crowd was leaving, while the Latinos were slowly streaming in for the bilingual Mass. Church bulletins and Mass programs at hand, the best thing was receiving the annual purple and gold saint card with the image of El Señor de los Milagros that Marlena kept wrapped with her other saint cards in her wallet inside her purse. Marlena unwrapped her Hall's menthol, offered one to Carolina, and they were ready for the long Mass. The Spanish choir was accompanied by the cajon, charango, and quena in upbeat, melodious rhythms of the Andes. Caro and Marlena watched as different cuadrillas, or groups of caring hermanos and hermanas, switched out from standing guard 4 at a time around the image of El Señor in stoic faces, gripping the soft white cord that hung from their necks, chests puffed out, and displaying the Señor de los Milagros badge on their purple tunics. During the long Mass, Caro's eyes wandered around, trying to find kids she knew from the youth group, her godmother, who she saw once a year at this event, men who danced with Tia Ros at numerous church parties but never dated her, friends of Papi Enrique, who liked to drink beer and laughed loudly at church socials. Finally, after the priest and bishop exited the altar, the children carrying the Bible and the cross, all the people waited as the hermanos began to assemble themselves around the platform where the holy image was getting in position for lifting. With the candle snuffer, they extinguished the tall candles, removing the heavy flower arrangements, and the standing platform was taken down so that the image could be carried on the shoulders and backs of the hermanos. The capataz, whose job was to lead the hermanos by guiding their pace, knowing their positions beneath the anda and making sure that everyone was safe. Carrying the image, struck a bell, ding, to announce that they all needed to lift in synchronicity. At the first bell, when the men who hadn't carried in a year or at all